afternoon, and welcome to the 5,280th meeting of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, Club 2500, District 6110. You know, when you walked in the room today, did you hear the buzz? There's just a lot of fellowship going on. People talking, exchanging ideas, getting together. It's a pleasure to be in an atmosphere like this with you today. We're glad you're here. You're going to be glad that you came. We've got a great program today, but before we begin, we're going to start with an invocation and pledge of allegiance led by repeat performer Darren Walkup, followed by guest introductions from Old Man Time and past President Bob Sade, and new member introductions from Kevin Murray.
All right, join me in the prayer. Lord, as Rotarians, help us always be patient and kind. Help us not be boastful, envious, or proud. Protect us from being rude, self-seeking, or easily angered. Teach us not to keep records of wrongs or to delight in evil, but to show us benefits in dealing in the truth. Inspire us to spread peace, hope, and perseverance in helping mankind in our community and throughout the world. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, Carl, your time is coming. And I'm going to warn you, when you get to the golden years, there's no gold. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a little off today. I took the wrong pill this morning when I was getting ready, and I'm feeling a little strange, but the good news is I'm protected from fleas and ticks for the next 30 days. So. Well, we have a couple of guests that we would like to introduce and ask them to stand. When they are introduced, Tony Oliva is here, former member Tony Oliva, who we want to get back in the club someday. Glad you're here. And Kara Vincent, and yes, she is related and the better half of the Vincent family. Kara, by the way, where is Kara? Way back there, okay. Kara is an attorney, a CPA, and a certified fraud examiner, so she's obviously going to be interested in today's program. So let's welcome our guest today. We have a couple of visiting Rotarians. We have from the Sand Springs Club, Harlan Pinkerton. Hey, Harlan. And our Assistant District Governor from Southside Rotary, Larry Boyer. Hi, Larry. Thank you. Come again.
Okay, today's a great day. We get to introduce 3 new members. We're going to start with Sam Lasicki. Crowd goes wild. Sam is originally from Wisconsin. Tulsa's been home for 12 years. He's married and a proud father of 3. He spent 10 years as a federal bank examiner. Were you getting paid back then?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay. With the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, before launching his own consulting company, where he now advises financial institutions on regulatory compliance and risk management. Sam is a part of Woodrum Tate & Associates. He holds a degree in finance and economics from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Sam also serves as treasurer and board member at Neighbors Along the Line, a Tulsa nonprofit that offers food pantry, medical clinic, and a GED program. He's excited to join Rotary to connect with like-minded professionals and give back to the Tulsa community. In his free time, you'll usually find Sam at the ballpark. Now, Daniel's going to enter the picture here in a second. Okay, so his 9-year-old son plays baseball, and they love attending Driller games and Major League games, where Sam always roots for Milwaukee. Okay, the Brewers. He also plays in the same Sandlot League as our Daniel Gomez, who introduced him to Rotary. Little known fact of Sam, he was the mascot at his university for a few years. I think a Pistol Pete, somebody dressing up like that. Okay. What did you dress up like?
Is it Warhawk?
Oh, okay. He even attended the Division III football national championship. So please welcome Sam Lasicki. Okay, number 2 on today's lineup, Garrett Robinson. Garrett was born and raised in Tulsa, graduated from Edison in 2015. That's only 40 years after me. Okay. He attended Colorado Christian University in Denver and spent 6 years in Colorado enjoying the mountains and skiing as much as possible before coming back to Tulsa. After completing his bachelor's degree in business administration from Oklahoma State University, go for it, Bob. Okay. Garrett earned his real estate license and joined the Moore Real Estate Agency, where he hit the ground running and quickly became a top producer. Garrett is happily married. I like it when people say that, I'm happily married. Okay. He's happily married to his beautiful wife, Justine. Together they have 2 energetic boys under 3. I think all boys under 3 are energetic. Okay. Judah and Bodie. They keep life busy, loud, and full of joy. He's excited to be a part of Rotary and looks forward to building new relationships and contributing to the community that's given him so much. I want to thank Mary Beth Sawyer for recommending Rotary to Garrett. Fun fact on Garrett. Between Garrett and Justine, his wife, they now have over 20 siblings when you include in-laws. In my case, I include outlaws. So welcome, Garrett. Okay, last but not least, door number 3, Taylor Blicken. Taylor serves as an administrative finance fellow at St. Francis Health System, where she supports strategic financial initiatives aimed at enhancing patient care and operational efficiency. With a strong foundation in healthcare administration and a deep commitment to community service, Taylor brings a thoughtful, mission-driven approach to both her professional and volunteer endeavors. She's eager to contribute to Rotary's legacy of impact while continuing to grow as a leader in the healthcare space. There's a lot of old people here, so we can probably use some CPR occasionally. Taylor is preparing to teach part-time in the educational sector. With her doctorate of health administration dissertation slated for completion next year, Taylor looks forward to sharing real-world insights with students while continuing her full-time work in the healthcare leadership. Little-known fact on Taylor. She recently authored a book, Beyond the White Coat, a guide to healthcare careers for the next generation. This is a student-focused book that opens up the world of healthcare careers beyond doctors and nurses. It's packed with career spotlights, education pathways, and real-world insights to help young people find their place in a complex and evolving healthcare system. So please welcome Taylor. Okay.
Garrett, step this way just a little bit. We're going to get a couple pictures. Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Looked out there today and saw Tony Oliva, who's been a friend for years, and Frank is back there in the corners. First time he's been able to be with us for a bit. We're glad to have all of you folks here today. I think too, Chaz, we got a full table here from one of our guests. I think we need to make it a rule. Any speaker that comes in the future needs to bring a full table of guests with them. I like that a lot. At this time, I'd like to invite Margaret Butler to please join me at the podium. Many of you know Margaret as the wife of our much admired and dedicated Rotarian Ron Butler, who we lost 9 years ago to kidney disease. You may also know her as the co-founder of Butler & Butler Advertising, an award-winning agency. You may know her as the producer of our club's Above and Beyond Awards for the past 11 years, or you may know her as the publicist of the Henry P. Iba Citizen Athletes Award throughout its entire 25-year run as our club's major fundraiser. Some of you worked with her during her 2 years as our part-time membership coordinator, or you may have worked with her on the Centennial book, where she served as editor. Beyond Rotary, Margaret has devoted her time and talent to many nonprofits in our community. She has served as chairman of the board at the Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma. I didn't realize how important you were. President of the board for 8 years for SHOW, a United Way agency, a board member and secretary for the ARC of Oklahoma. No, Bob, not that kind of ARC, buddy. This is ARC, not ARK. She is president of the Tulsa Ad Club. She is marketing chair and advisory board member for the Tulsa Area United Way. She's offered her expertise to many other local organizations. Margaret, it's my great pleasure to extend to you an honorary membership in the Rotary Club of Tulsa, the highest honor our club can bestow. This recognition reflects our profound gratitude for your distinguished service and your unwavering dedication to both our club and the Tulsa community. You know, when we talk about honorary memberships and giving someone one of those, the Rotary International is pretty strict about who can receive them. But more locally, we run into the issue of folks go, if I'm going to be an honorary member, they're going to expect me to do a lot more work. Margaret, we expect nothing else from you. And we're terribly grateful for everything that you've done. Please join me in applauding Margaret.
Well, he cut my script in half. You know, I'm always used to writing scripts for all these events, so it was harder to write my own, but I'll be quick. First of all, he did tell me that when he called me, or I called him about receiving his letter, and he said it was the only way we could think of to make you do more work for the club. I'd like to introduce my table, my husband, Tim Disney. We are getting ready to celebrate our 6th anniversary. My daughter, Teresa, Dorr, and her husband, Randy, and my other daughter, Lori Butler. And we're glad to have them all here today. I'm very proud of them. They've been through everything with me and with Ron, and now with Tim, and will continue to do so. You know, when looking at the club's website, it describes this club is made up of, and I'll quote, dedicated people who share a passion for community service and friendship. Having been involved with this club, I know that friendships are made here, but I have a really great example that many of you have not heard of or haven't thought about in a while. My husband, Ron, who was such a dedicated man to the Rotary Club, was faced with having the need to do a kidney transplant. We went to the hospital in Oklahoma City and went through the orientation, and they told us that we needed to raise $16,000 to give to them prior to the surgery. Unfortunately, we weren't in a position to have $16,000 readily available, and so we were kind of contemplating what can we do to solve this problem. Bob McKenzie, an ex-president or former president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, was a good friend of ours. Actually, he's the one that talked me into helping out at the Rotary office for a couple of years. But anyway, we had dinner with he and his wife, Darlene, and we knew that he had been really involved in a lot of fundraisers, not only the IBO Awards, but his desire to wipe out polio around the world through Rotary. And just explained our situation and wondered if he might have some ideas. Maybe we do an art auction with some of Ron's artwork. What other things can we come up to do to raise this funds? He said, well, let me think about it. We said, well, that'd be great. That's all we can ask. We appreciate that. And probably about 2 hours after dinner, Ron gets a phone call from Bob, and he said, "Don't worry about it. The money's raised." I was like, "What?" He said, "I made a few phone calls to your Rotarian friends. Anonymously, these Rotarians donated the $16,000, which actually grew to $20,000, which paid our expenses and the Rotary or the medical bills. He set up a separate anonymous checking account that he was on with us, and we paid those bills as they came in. I still receive a monthly statement from Spirit Bank, who I apologize to because the balance is $9.48. So, talk about friendships. This is unbelievable what they did anonymously. To this day, I don't know who contributed. So this was my opportunity to say thank you, not only for receiving this wonderful award, but also on behalf of Ron.
And that, my friends, is what Rotary is all about. Got a little DNA for you today in honor of Veterans Day, in honor of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, and recognizing the international reach of the Rotary organization. I saw Hal Allen, who was a pilot. He's joined us today. He'll appreciate this. This remarkable piece of Rotary Club of Tulsa history was recently brought to light by past President Tomasz Michalik of the Rotary Club of Poland, Białystok, Poland. In August of 2024, he published an article in his District 2231 newsletter titled "An Incredible Story of a Rotarian," and where he shared this discovery. In July of 2024, he was preparing a shipment of water purification tablets to send to the Ukraine, prepared by the Rotary Club there. He paused to think about that act and what it meant to the Ukrainians. Today, Rotary is providing extraordinary support to Ukraine, but he wondered, was Rotary involved in any way during the 1920 war when Poland defended Europe against the Bolshevik invasion? So he pulled a copy of the Rotarian International magazine for August of 1920. I didn't even know they published a Rotary magazine in August of 1920. He browsed through it and stopped at page 89 and discovered a photograph of a young man in a Polish military uniform identified as, this name is important, Lieutenant Carl H. Clark, a Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Tulsa. He was serving in Poland with the Kazachstan Fighter Squadron. Clark had previously been a pilot with the French forces in World War I. After the war, he was encouraged by a guy named Marion Cooper, and we'll talk about Marion Cooper some more in a minute, whose family had historic ties to Kazachstan and Pulaski, the Polish heroes, and he encouraged Mr. Clark to join a group of American volunteer pilots supporting Poland. These pilots became known as the Magnificent Seven of the Kazachstan Squadron. I had a little trouble with my Polish pronunciation today. The American volunteers insisted on receiving the same modest pay and living conditions as the Polish pilots. They were not there for profit, but for service. When they arrived in Poland, Józef Pilsudski, the commander, made it clear that Poland had no use for mercenaries, and if they were there to be mercenaries, they weren't welcome. The commander of the Magnificent Seven respectfully replied that they sought no special privileges, only the honor of serving alongside Polish soldiers. Shortly thereafter, the squadron was stationed in Lvov, where the emblem that would later become iconic in aviation history was sketched on the back of a restaurant menu. That emblem, later carried by the legendary Polish 303 Squadron in World War II, still appears on Polish fighter aircraft today. Lieutenant Clark quickly became known for his courage. He flew low-altitude missions against enemy cavalry, supply convoys, trains, and river gunboats. Think about the kind of plane he was flying. Sometimes he would get low enough where he could reach out of the cockpit and drop small bombs on the enemy below him to cause disruptions. How brave would you have to be to drop a bomb by hand out of the cockpit of a plane? His aircraft came back to base frequently so riddled with bullet holes that his fellow pilots joked that he must be eating bullets like dumplings. Eventually, he became seriously ill and was taken to Warsaw. From that point, the record of his story grows faint. Now, we talked about Marion Cooper a minute ago. He was the one who recruited these pilots to go to Poland. He later co-wrote and directed the original King Kong film. And he even appears on screen. That's him. He flew the airplane that was attacking the giant ape in the movie. Some believe that the concept for the Magnificent Seven movie may have been inspired not only by the Seven Samurai, but also by the story of those 7 American pilots who defended Poland in 1920. Carl Clark was likely the very first Rotarian to ever set foot in Poland, more than a decade before Rotary was even established in Poland. He was awarded Poland's highest military honor, the Virtuti Militari, and the Haller Cross, an extraordinary example of service above self. The Rotarians who reached out to Tina to inquire about Carl Clark have now proposed that his legacy be permanently honored by their club and district. His courage, character, and service truly embody the heart of Rotary values. One of the few remaining records of Clark's Rotary involvement is his signature on a Rotary wheel illustration drawn in 1960 by Tulsa Rotary Club Secretary John Hammer. I was gifted this image that's on the podium in front of me here and reflected there, and you can clearly see Mr. Clark's signature there. That piece still hangs in our Rotary office today. As we reflect on Veterans Day, it's especially meaningful to remember that our club's history is grounded in the service and sacrifice of members like Carl Clark, individuals who step forward with courage not only for their country, but for the cause of freedom around the world. Today, we carry that legacy forward. To the veterans in this room, we offer our sincere gratitude. Your dedication exemplifies service above self, and we honor you for continuing the tradition and courage and service that has shaped our club from the earliest days. At this time, I'd like to ask that all veterans with us today please stand and be recognized. Thinking about Bill Kogerman, I'm sorry he's not able to be here with us today. I know he would have appreciated that. We have, Mary Beth, are you handy? Would you be able to do, are you doing a side mic announcement for us about Shop with a Cop? Yeah, she is. Yeah.
I didn't know I was doing this, so I'm not prepared. But Raise your hand if you have ever been to, volunteered with, or seen pictures from Shop with a Cop. Okay, if you are not familiar with the concept, we partner with our lovely TPD officers as well as our partner in education school, Celia Clinton, and we take underprivileged students to a Walmart here locally, and we help them buy Christmas presents for their family. We pair them up with a Rotarian and a police officer. This helps them establish a more positive view of our members in blue, as well as, give them a little exposure to what Rotary is all about. This is a really, really wonderful event to give back to your community and also to give back to the students that we work so closely with and that we care about and that we work with all year long. It's a great way for them to see these nebulous Rotarians that exist out there, right? They get a face with the lovely name that helps them out by not only donating books at the end of every meeting, but also throughout the year, the other works that we do with them. So if you did not see the Monday message, we had a link in there to sign up for Shop with a Cop. I will be checking that and then reaching out to people to make sure that we still show up this year. And if you have any questions about Shop with a Cop, about the event, please reach out to me and I will get you all the details. Yes. Yes, it's December 6th. Not the 4th. It is December 6th. Yes.
What's on the 4th?
Yes. Bell ringing is on the 4th, which is also a great event, and I will be there as well.
Thank you, Mary Beth. This time of year, we're offering two avenues of service. One avenue of service is to drop small bombs out of the cockpit of a flying airplane. The other is to Shop with a Cop or Salvation Army bell ringing. You get to choose which you would prefer. I get to introduce the chairman of the board, Bill Vogel, and before I came up here, Bill said, "You look like you might be sweating a little bit, Carl." And I said, "Well, I'm sitting next to a FBI special agent. My wife, who is a certified fraud examiner and attorney, is here sitting next to investigative reporter Jenny Graham, and everything I've ever done wrong in my life is flashing before my eyes." Yeah. I'm sweating, buddy. I'm sweating. Bill Vogel has been a dedicated member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa for 33 years. He is a Club Foundation Platinum level donor, a Rotary International major donor, and a Paul Harris Fellow level 8. Bill currently serves on the community grants, international projects, and above and beyond committees. He's in his third year as a Club Foundation trustee and is serving this year as board chair. Professionally, Bill is the owner and president of Southern Millwork, an architectural-grade millwork manufacturing company. At Cityplex Towers, where we handle hundreds of thousands of square feet of tenant build-outs every year, I got a lot of Southern Millwork cabinets in our space. He's also a private investor and active community volunteer and serves as Building Corporation President and Associate Chapter Advisor for Phi Kappa Alpha at the University of Tulsa, his alma mater, where he earned his degree in accounting and finance in 1969. Bill is a proud graduate of Leadership Tulsa, Class 46. Fun fact, Bill never misses an opportunity to remind Ed Monette that TU is the academic University of Tulsa. Please join me in welcoming Bill Vogel.
Never miss the opportunity, Ed. So. A few weeks ago, I got a text message from a bank about a check that was posted to an account, a check for an amount that I didn't recognize. I looked at it, found out that the check had been apparently stolen, probably from the mail, and both the payee and the amount had been changed, the amount substantially. Because of that text message and the bank's fraud detection software and department, a pretty unhappy event was avoided. Many of us know of that foreign diplomat who won the $2 million lottery and needs our help getting that money out of the country. Or we've received a text message about we want a cooler, a Yeti cooler from Lowe's, or perhaps a toolkit from Harbor Freight, maybe even a Ford pickup truck from some dealer. All we have to do is click that link on the email message. So we know the hazards of that. Our speaker today is an expert in these and many other areas too. He's a native Tulsan, a Casher Hall graduate, traveled the world, been a Marine and Iraq veteran, and has returned to Tulsa and in his 15th year as an FBI Special Agent. Please welcome FBI Special Agent Terry Heatherman.
I'm a walker, so I'll be walking back and forth. If the blue lights hit me wrong, I might fall down, but I'm a Marine. I'll be okay. So I have a couple goals I want to kind of have today. One is just to tell you just a little bit about the Bureau in general, and really the Bureau here in Oklahoma, give you a sense of what it looks like. And then secondly, talk a little bit about white collar and some of these things that you're talking about. How many of you guys have had interactions with the FBI before? Good. This is always a loaded question because some people are like, yeah, I know an FBI guy. Some people are like, yeah, oh no, I don't know anything about the FBI. You can't prove anything, leave me alone. So the FBI's mission, protect the American people and uphold the Constitution of the United States. Right now we're about 39,000 strong. We have right now 56 field offices. We added one in Billings, Montana recently. The budget there is $11.3 million. Hopefully today some of that budget will be spent on paying me back. I would appreciate that very much. This is what the Bureau looks like across the country. Again, 56 field offices. So we have sub-offices kind of throughout Tulsa and different parts of Oklahoma. I'll talk about that in a sec. But we are all headquartered out of the Oklahoma City office. So this is what Oklahoma City FBI looks like. You see that the major offices that we have obviously are there in Oklahoma City. Tulsa is our second biggest office. I've kind of been all over the Bureau. Right now I'm actually supervising the Muskogee office, which is actually one of the busiest offices in the United States. Did I hear a why? Good. Well, I was getting to it. Give me a second. So many of you have heard about the U.S. versus McGirt decision, which made eastern Oklahoma basically Indian country land. So when crimes occur on Indian country land, it becomes federal. So that changed the entire face of kind of what law enforcement in general looks like in eastern Oklahoma, but in particular the FBI. As an example, the Muskogee office was, 5-6 years ago, 3 or 4 agents. In that span, because of the McGirt decision, the FBI Muskogee office has 18 agents in it. There was years when we were opening more cases in FBI Muskogee than large parts of FBI New York, which ought to give you a sense of how much, the type of volume of work that we were doing in Indian country. So when you think about the Bureau, think of it really in 2 different parts, okay? So obviously a lot of priorities here, but when you break it down, it's really 2 different things. One is our national security mission, okay? So when you think national security, think international terrorism, which is Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and more likely here, it's that person who's sitting in the basement who's been inspired by Al-Qaeda or ISIS, and they want to commit an attack of some sort of violence on the United States. So that's kind of our international terrorism mission. The other part of it is more of a domestic terrorism type program that we have. I think the classic example of that is the KKK, kind of a group of people who have an ideology who want to commit violence on behalf of that ideology. Also within that kind of national security space is the counterintelligence mission that we have. Kind of the old school counterintelligence mission was really spies versus spies, right? Spies here in the United States. The FBI over the last many years has become more kind of overt in what we do because our enemies are becoming more overt, right? China is very intentionally making their presence felt in the United States, and so we have to counter that, and we can't do that spy on spy in the shadows, if you will. The last part of that national security mission is our cyber mission. Cyber, by far and away, has kind of become our biggest mission. It has kind of connections to everything that we do, whether it's national security or whether it's more the criminal stuff that we do. So a big part of what we do on the national security side is those cyber type events. And that's really government intrusions, China hacking into whatever they think that they want, that type of thing. The second half of the FBI mission is really our criminal one. So we'll talk a little bit more about white collar in general, but really it says that they are combating violent crime and really looking at that international crime organizations is what we try to focus on, right? We partner with our friends at the police department, whether it's TPD or others, or Muskogee Police Department or whatever, and we're focused on what's going on here, but we're always looking for that link to other states or that link to overseas. All right, so white collar crime. So white collar actually in the FBI encompasses a lot of different things. It's not only our kind of what he was talking about with these little schemes that we're seeing more and more, but also we work public corruption, civil rights, and other things. But we're here to talk a little bit about economic crimes. Fast forward here, I'm low on time. So these are the major ones that we kind of work. I would highlight a couple of them. Bank fraud is typically all the ones that we get involved in have some sort of nexus to a bank. When the bank is involved, that's how we kind of get our federal hook so that we can get involved in those types of cases. The frauds and swindles, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And then this intellectual property, a lot of businesses here, particularly our large oil and gas companies, things like that, have intellectual property that they are trying to protect from China and from other countries who are trying to steal that information. So we don't do anything alone. We're not big enough to do everything alone, so we have great partnerships, not only here in kind of eastern Oklahoma, but throughout the state. I have been to divisions where government partners don't get along so well. ATF doesn't like the FBI or something like that. I'm happy to say in Tulsa, we all play in the sandbox pretty well. Everyone gets along really good. And we get along with our local partners, right? Tulsa Police Department is ingrained in our squads, and we act as task forces to accomplish all of these missions. So proud to say that we tie in very well with our partners here. So financial crimes, we started with what kind of Oklahoma looks like, kind of winding down into, we have our national security mission, which takes up a lot. We have our criminal organizations. And we're kind of narrowing down to a little bit more of what we'll talk about here, which is our financial crimes. Corporate fraud is one that we work quite a lot, and it's probably the one that we see most commonly. Typically from reports from our partners who come and call us to tell us about what's going on. A lot of the time this looks like embezzlement, where we see people who are hired within that business stealing from the company. Securities fraud, we kind of leave to the SEC, but we have a hand in a little bit. Again, anything that we touch on the white collar side will have some sort of connection to the bank, so that we can find a federal nexus in order to make sure that we get these things charged. I'm going to skip a couple of these guys because I don't have much time. All right, so here's all the statutes that we charge. Typically, when you see them, you'll see the ones. These ones right here, these frauds and swindles, these frauds by wires are the ones that we typically charge quite a bit. The one at the bottom there in blue, that trafficking in counterfeit goods, If you remember those movies in the 80s, where at the very beginning it said, hey, beware the FBI, don't copy this, or else you're going to jail, right? And no one ever goes to jail for that. But that's what you would get charged with, so don't do that. So I said before, cyber is just playing a part in everything that we do. There isn't a case in the Bureau that doesn't have some sort of hook to cyber. So cyber is becoming something more and more that we're recruiting when we're looking for agents. Again, on the criminal side, where we're talking a little bit more about white collar, it's those people who have access to this information, and they can exploit that access in order to commit harm to companies. Cyber is so much easier, right? The days of going into a bank with a gun and robbing it are becoming less and less common, knock on wood, right? Still a federal offense to rob a bank. But it's easier to be online, right? You can be anonymous. It's safer that way. And you can, there's more victims throughout the country that we can try to get to when we do things online. And sad to say, to some degree, that last bullet on there, the prison sentences for white-collar criminals is much less than if you were to go into that bank with a gun and rob it, rightfully so or not so. If you get caught, you're looking at less time if you commit a white-collar crime. So when we talk about white-collar, we typically get all of our tips through this website. So it's called ic3.gov. I'm not sure if anyone has reported through ic3.gov or know anything about it. Again, this is one of those questions where we're like, no, I don't know anything. So ic3.gov is where if you have something go on, get on there immediately, and there's a really easy way for you to click on links and submit your tip to the FBI. That doesn't mean that you can't get on the phone. Also, Google FBI Tulsa and call and get on with an agent. There's an agent on duty every single day. But IC3 is the best way for you to get your information populated so that we can review it. No matter if it's a business email compromise or anything like that, we can look through it if it's on ic3.gov. So ic3.gov does a couple things. Not only do you do the reporting through it, but it also compiles data so that we can kind of look at trends to see what's kind of happening out there. And then how do we need to adjust as an FBI to respond to those types of threats? Oh yeah, don't rob a bank anymore. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so every year IC3 kind of does a report. Again, they're compiling that data of all those thousands and hundreds of thousands of tips that we got. And I thought we'd go through a couple of those just so that you guys can get a sense of that data and what we're seeing and maybe how we're responding as an FBI. So again, this is just investment fraud that we're looking at here. You'll see in the red is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is becoming more and more of a thing. All these swindles and frauds that we are seeing, when we hear the word, I sent that money to cryptocurrency, it's like an immediate red flag, like, uh-oh, something bad has just happened. But you see, with some of these investment frauds here on the left, we tend to think that only the elderly are kind of getting frauded by this, and unfortunately they are. But if you look at the age rings on the left-hand side, you'll see that kind of everyone is kind of falling for these things. These people are so good at what they do that they're able to fraud really anyone, unfortunately. Here's a look at just the ransomwares. Again, that's one of those links that you click, and then all of a sudden your system is locked up, and they're asking you to pay in order to unlock your information. You'll see that it hits a large swath of different types of infrastructure sections, but primarily they're looking at those people who have money, right? Or those people who are not protected. A lot of the ransomwares that we see, the bad guys are always looking for the easiest route to get people. And a lot of the time it's just, I haven't updated that software, right? You know that little thing where it says, push here to update your software. Not everyone is pushing that button. And they look for that person who's not doing it, and they exploit it. But you see, the ransomware people are kind of hitting across the spectrum but primarily focused in those types of industries. We'll talk about BECs here in a second. So looking at the stats, just to give you a sense, again, this is a compilation of all the stuff that we get in through our IC3. Investment fraud is big. The BECs, which we'll talk about, the business email compromise, where you get an email and that email is just slightly off, right? It's off by a digit or off by a number or something, and they'll able to kind of use that, exploit that to make sure that you are changing your bank information or something like that. A big one there, right? You'll see the one at the bottom, right? That crimes against children. It's actually it's the least in terms of money, but it's the most in terms of the manpower that the FBI puts to. Whenever there's children involved, it becomes a priority kind of lead for us. And not everyone can get fixed. A lot of the times this is children who are, or teenagers, to be honest, who are sending pictures online and then who are being told, hey, I'm going to put this on all of your social media unless you send me money. And we can't fix all of those. A lot of the fix that we get is from mom and dad fixing it for us. Same type of kind of information. The spoofing and the phishing from online has just skyrocketed through the roof over the years. A lot of the data that I've seen over the last 10 years was kind of flat, and then we had COVID, and people were kind of getting online to do everything, and the numbers just kind of exploded. Again, this is a 3-year average of some of those things, and I think this is before COVID, so it's flattened off a little bit, which I think is a good thing. But again, the years continue, the amounts are just astronomical. So there's a couple things that we kind of look for when we're doing investigations. One of them is a money mule. A lot of the times we'll start with a BEC, so a business email compromise, where you have basically, they've used your email in order to get access to your business. That access will then be used to send money. That money will then be sent to a money mule, who will then take that money and use it to either push to cryptocurrency or push to some other account. A lot of the times what we see is that money mule is unwitting. They didn't know. They were also being scammed themselves. So you go from a BEC where they get access to your business, then that money is sent to a mule who is actually getting scammed by perhaps a romance scheme, and then that money goes to cryptocurrency, and all of a sudden they've hit all of the things. Once it gets into cryptocurrency, it actually becomes very difficult for the FBI or any law enforcement to kind of unscramble. Unfortunately, that's the world of crypto. There are ways to do it, but it is difficult. So we look frequently for money mules. A lot of those times, those people don't know that they're doing wrong. Again, they're getting schemed, and they actually feel bad when we go find them. But we've actually spent a lot of the time, not just in the Bureau, but law enforcement in general, reaching out to those people, because if they get schemed by one person, they get kind of put on a list, and then they're schemed by a lot of different people. And if we can get them at least to stop, then we have at least mitigated that part of the threat. Sorry, guys, I'm going to skip a couple just because So one of the things that we have in the Bureau, we call it the RAT team. It's not the best name to be on. The Recovery Asset Team. So going back again to that IC3.gov, you got scammed. What do? You get onto IC3 and you submit that complaint. There is a team at headquarters that is always going through these types of threats, and they're trying to mitigate them as early as possible. If you just got money taken from you and you're able to get into IC3, a couple things. First of all, make sure your bank knows as soon as possible. There's a lot of times when the bank can reverse wires and do things to help you out. The Bureau itself has relationships with the largest banks of the country, and we can also do the same type of things. We can't force the bank to do it, but the Recovery Asset Team, or really any agent, can submit kind of a kill chain, and it's basically alerting the bank, particularly in international wires, hey, this doesn't look right, something's wrong, we can reverse this for you. I can tell you that a lot of businesses in Oklahoma have been kind of saved by this, either the recovery team or getting with your banks as soon as possible. So again, the recovery team has a lot of successes. Highly recommend that you get to ic3.gov as soon as possible. So business email compromises, we talked a little bit about it, where you kind of see that the email header is changed just enough where you can't, it looks like it's real, right? It looks like it's real, so I'm either going to click that link or I'm going to tell them, yeah, go ahead and change our bank information, here's our routing number, et cetera, so that they can exploit that information. And I see some people shaking their heads every day. Every day we get calls on someone that is being either spoofed or phished, or in this example here, this email compromise, right? Where that construction, you wouldn't see it until you really looked at it, but construction's not spelled right. And getting that domain for the bad guy is easy. I just get onto one of these sites where I can get a domain and I buy that one and I can make that happen really quick. So some of the lessons learned, and this one, in another presentation I gave where I go through kind of a whole business email thing. These are a couple of lessons learned from BECs, since I know it's one of the most common ones and I think people talk about. Make sure that you have really good internal controls. Make sure that you know your bank. If you are banking locally, go in and shake hands and say hi to people. Make sure they know your voice, so that when you call and say, hey, or someone calls and says, hey, I want to change the routing information on this, one of the checks is they know my voice. I have a relationship with them, right? The FBI has no position on insurance for cyber theft and things like that, but I know a lot of businesses use it, and we encourage you to have it. If the FBI is going to get involved, we ask that you keep all of the information that you can so that we can use it for evidence and then exploit it to find out who the bad guy is. Right, and then call us or get to ic3.gov. I was talking to someone, Kevin, it might have been you earlier. One of the things that hopefully you get out of today is that I think when we see cops, we go shake a cop's hand, and it's kind of easy to talk to a cop, and I think that's wonderful. When people see an FBI agent, they're either like, hi, or they're like, oh, see you, dude. I don't want any part of that guy. And nothing could be further from the truth, right? Just like the cops, we are here for you. We are here to serve. And your taxes pay my salary. I work for you. So please don't think that the FBI is something that is not approachable. It is not. So specifically to Oklahoma, I asked the white-collar supervisor to kind of look at this. So the white-collar person in charge in Oklahoma City kind of oversees the whole white-collar program. And I said, what are the kind of the things that, if I was in a group, that I would talk about? One, he said BECs. And then he said something kind of interesting, is like we talk about all of the new schemes that are going out there, and I actually am concerned about what the future of crime looks like when we start talking about AI and deep fakes and all of these types of things. It's incredibly concerning. But you wouldn't believe how the old stuff still works. People still clicking on those links, right? So certainly be concerned about AI. Be concerned about making sure that your cyber and your information technology is as robust as it can be. And be aware of the trends that are occurring. But don't forget about the old stuff. It's working and continues to work. So again, to kind of close a little bit, how to protect you, your company, or yourself. Some of the things that kind of stick out for me in all of these things, the training. Make sure that part of your business protocol or protocol with your children who deal with a lot of this cyber stuff is that you're talking to them and training them and telling them what's going on. Know who you are hiring, embezzlements, are rampant. We work a lot of those, and there's so many that we can't work them all. For anyone with intellectual property, I don't know if this would be anyone in this room or not, make sure that you are guarding your intellectual property for your business. If we're going to charge someone for thefts of intellectual property, we actually have to prove that you are securing that property. If you're not securing that property and someone steals it, we can't prove that they stole it, really. Part of the element of making sure that that person is held accountable for what they did is us showing that your business tactics and procedures are securing that information that's so important to you. Vet the companies that you work with, right? Kind of like when I said, know who you're banking with, also know who your partners are, right? Make sure that you're on phone calls with them, and when they ask for something that doesn't seem right, that it sends up that red flag. When they ask for crypto, those types of things, those red clusters go up, and you're automatically concerned. And you can only do that if you really know the people you work with and the people who work with you. And the last one I'll say, I'm not even sure it's up there. In fact, I think it is. There it is, number 1, engage with your FBI. Again, you pay our salary. We're proud to serve. We are here to make sure we can, to the best of our ability, get you out of any kind of white-collar crime problems that you have. That being said, you heard all of those other things that we do. It's hard to prioritize all of those different things. So it's incumbent on you, for your businesses, for your children, that you're doing all of those things to keep yourself safe. Guys, was that about 20, 25 minutes? Nailed it. So thank you very much. So besides the certified fraud examiner, does anyone else have questions? Yes, please.
I'm a real estate agent.
Yep.
And I get asked this question a lot because we are still an abstract state.
Mm-hmm.
And I get people asking me if they should get mortgage insurance or anything like that for mortgage fraud or anything like that. But I was thinking that since we're one of the few abstract states, does that still protect the homeowners?
I don't know the specifics of that. I would say in general, it is not a trend that I hear much of. So all of the kind of, for the last year, all of the kind of white-collar tips before I was in Muskogee kind of went through me, and that is not something that I heard a lot about. Now, there are real estate schemes that I've heard of, less so with the mortgage, and I know what you're getting at because I've heard of it in the past. Around here, and not as a trend, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, there's tons of commercials.
Yeah.
So they're asking me, and I really haven't heard about it too. Now, wholesalers, I've heard, but
Yeah.
not the mortgage. So I'm correct saying that we're an abstract state. They really don't need to spend the money on that.
Yeah. And again, I go back to, we talked a little bit about insurance, and a lot of more businesses are having insurance even for BECs and things like that, right? Or they'll have contracts with people who have negotiated with these people or who are doing ransomwares. It's actually now a niche business where if your company gets ransomware, you can hire a business to negotiate basically with those people. And again, as a bureau, we say, do not negotiate with those people. But the reality is you have to get your business open. And the trend that I see is if you pay for your ransomware, it gets unlocked. Because if it doesn't get unlocked, then ransomwares don't really work, right? If they got to see that if I get paid and I unlock your business, well, then I can get the next person. If you never, ever pay them, then the ransomware kind of formula kind of falls off. Please.
Yeah, this is a simple question.
Yes.
It seems like somebody told me that just by using a gel ink pen that kind of bleeds into the check, that makes it harder to wash a check than using a ballpoint. Is that true? And then secondly, if you're ever sending a check, which we don't do that much anymore, most of us,
Yeah.
actually take it into the mail, post office, put it in that chute as opposed to outside.
I think, I can't remember who it was, put out a warning on a lot of postal thefts. I recommend checks are kind of a little bit, they leave you vulnerable in a lot of different ways. I don't know about the type of ink that you use. I would say this, the sophistication of some of these actors is so through the roof that you are exposing yourself when you use a check. We have several cases where people have gone to the mail, and whether it's gum or whether it's something else, or forcing it open physically, they're getting to it. And so it is a trend. And I want to say that, I can't remember who it was, put out a national alert on just being cautious when you use checks or you use the mail. Nothing against the Postal Service, who hopefully will get paid today too. That is a trend. The mortgage one, I would say I don't see as much. Checks being washed and things like that is becoming more and more a thing.
Thank you, Terry.
Good. Thank you all.
Well done. Terry, we appreciate you being here. That's some insight that we don't normally have access to, and thank you. I learned a lot. We're going to give a book to Celia Clinton Elementary in honor of your discussion with us today. And the title of the book is The Bad Guys. In fact, it's right there. If you grab it and inscribe it, we give that to the school. Great upcoming programs. Visionary past Mayor Mick Cornett from Oklahoma City on November 29th. Carly Singer Wignaraha on December 3rd. Katie Neary on December 10th. And I think the 17th, Tommy Lynn, we're going to have like a Christmas or a holiday celebration here. There are 2 committee meetings today in room 231, membership engagement. Who's leading that? Dylan, are you leading that one? Oh, there we go. There we go. And we've got social committee with, is that Sheree and Heather, the social committee, in room 232. So please attend one of those meetings. Remember, you can go to one of those meetings, shop with a cop, or you can drop small bombs out of a cockpit. And then I want to mention 2 things quickly to you. The Rotary Club of Will Rogers is hosting their Holiday in the Wood. That's going to be November 18th, which is next Tuesday. If you go to their website, they've got a code you can scan. Tickets are $40, but they've got presentations, they've got raffles. It's a well-attended event, and I know you would enjoy it if you get to attend. Kenny Brown brought me this t-shirt, and these are Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation t-shirts. And on the front, they've got our logo. On the back, they've got a long list of all of the organizations our foundation has worked with over the past few years. And Kenny will sell you one of those shirts for $25, and the money goes back to support the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation. So if you're one of those people that's kind of cold-blooded, you may want to buy 3 to wear at one time. We want to thank our sponsors once again for their support for our club and making programs like this possible. A special thank you to Margaret Butler for being here today and receiving the honorary membership. We're blessed to have you, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you for your presence today at this meeting and for your ongoing commitment to service above self. Together, through fellowship and dedication, we continue to make an impact. Before you leave, take a moment to greet our new members who will be at the guest table in the foyer. And with that, we are adjourned.